Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio, and I'm here with my friend and co-author and colleague, Nancy Saxton-Lopez. And this is a broadcast that we do live every Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. And then it is available for replay on YouTube and on Facebook and on a variety of podcast audio-only outlets. And so we love very much when you participate. So if you have questions or comments or suggestions for topics, please send them to us. You can reach me at kenddv@gmail.com, and you can reach Nancy at nsaxtonlopez@csmpc.com. And we like to note that this program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, Massachusetts. Dakin is a 501c3 community-supported animal welfare organization that provides shelter, medical care, spay-neuter services, and behavioral rehab for more than 20,000 animals and people each year. The animal-human bond is very important to this organization. Since its inception in 1969, Dakin has become one of the most recognized nonprofit organizations in central Massachusetts and a national leader in animal welfare. And you can learn more about Dakin and make a donation, and please consider doing so at dakinhumane.org. That's DAKINHUMANE.org. And I will have the pleasure of doing a presentation this coming Tuesday, the 16th at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and it will be sponsored by Dakin Humane Society. And I'll be reading from Nancy in my book, The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. So I'll be doing a little bit of reading, and I'll be facilitating a conversation. And if you look at the description of this program, where you're viewing it or listening to it, you'll see there's a registration link if you'd like to register for this program. And there are still some openings, and it looks like we'll have a nice group, and you can listen or you can be part of the conversation as well. And so I think that's it for our opening. And Nancy, why don't you
take it
get us started?
So, the holidays are coming up. In 2 weeks, it'll be Thanksgiving, and then we go into, I don't know when Hanukkah is this year, but we go into Christmas. And the holidays, people look forward to the holidays. I mean, I'm looking forward to the holidays, right? Mm-hmm. However, there can be a lot of pressure around holidays. So, parties, meals, especially when you get into Christmas, gifts, family coming, and
family.
You get along with the family, or you don't get along with the family, and there's a lot of work that has to be done. Decorations, Thanksgiving's a little quieter, but there's a lot of food, right? And I've done those dinners, and it's not as easy as it looks.
It's a lot of work, right?
Especially
Huge amount of work.
One oven. If you only have one oven, it's almost impossible to get everything warm at the same time.
Thankfully, I'm going to visit with relatives, and I'll help clean up if they'll let me.
So, but it can be a really happy time or a really comforting time. There are rituals. This is what we do, but it also has its pressures and anxieties. So when we have one of our beloved animals who maybe recently died, or an animal that's very sick, it causes other levels of emotions, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a disconnect, right? Because everybody around you is celebrating, and you may not feel like celebrating at all, and you might actually feel almost like put out by all of that going around you, or even more isolated.
Yeah.
In your grief.
It's hard, right? Because you don't have if you're grieving, you certainly don't have a lot of energy to do some of these things. Mm-hmm. And you may not have the energy or the tolerance to see some family members. There's
at the best of times, even
right. So, I mean, but all of that comes to rest. And now, I mean, we'll have our podcast next week, but the week after is Thanksgiving. So coming into this now, and all the shortages, they're talking about that there's not enough turkeys, there's not enough of this or that, or prices have gone up. So there's just a lot there, and especially when a beloved animal has died.
And also, if you've just lost your best friend or one of your best friends or beloved family member who happens to not be a human being, and it's holiday time, it just punctuates
Yeah.
their absence so
Yeah.
strongly, right? Because we mark the years by holidays, and when we have a loss, it's just so it's like stabs us in the heart that they're
That's
not there with us this year. They've been with us for years, perhaps, and now they're not. And it just really emphasizes the reality of the loss.
That's right, because it brings back memories, right?
Mhm,
So giving your beloved dog, some scraps from the table,
mhm,
he's waiting for something in particular, like the turkey, or something on that, or what laying around with them watching football, right?
mhm.
I mean, there's just things that you do with them that because they're woven into the tapestry of our lives, they're with us,
Absolutely, yeah,
and
yep.
holidays are important, right? So, but we want to, let people know that you can control what you want to do and not do. So if you don't want to go to some parties or you don't want to go to any parties, you don't have to. You don't have to do a big dinner if you really don't want to.
Well, Nancy, I just really want to punctuate this because one of the big things about the holidays is the sense of obligation.
Yeah,
People
that's
have
so
we
true.
have such a sense of obligation that we should do all the things you said, that we should be there, that we should
Cooking,
be cooking, that
decorating.
we should be and that we should be up and engaged, and the idea that you can exercise, as you said, so poignantly, control, that you actually do have control
Yes,
over the extent to which you participate and the ways that you participate. And it is absolutely within your power to say, I'm not going to attend
that's
this particular gathering, or I'm going to attend and I'm going to say hello and I'm going to let everybody know that I love them, but I'm not going to stay
mhm,
as long as I usually
exactly.
stay. And so being assertive in that way can feel really strange and you can feel very torn, but it is a time where it's very important to think about what's good for me. Like,
Exactly.
how can I be gentle with myself? How can I be kind to myself? And what if I were thinking of myself as another person who I love and care so much about? What would I be advising them to do? And can I advise myself to do those things and actually follow
Right.
through?
Well, and interesting, I was thinking about that, and sometimes when people are grieving and, you talked about obligations, but also they may not they may feel that they shouldn't grieve and they do everything. And that's also could be end up to be problematic, right? So they take on
Yeah.
everything because it fills
Yes.
up their time, right? And they don't have to think about, their animal not being there. So it can go either way, but what we're both saying is you need to take care of yourself, and that's okay that you don't go to
Yeah.
the third party of the night, or even the second party of the night, or even the first party of the night.
Yeah, you deserve to take care of yourself too.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
need to and you deserve to, and it's really okay. And if people don't understand, that's really on them. That's not on you.
yeah. So, I mean, you want to set aside some time to grieve. I
Hmm.
mean, there may be situations where you can't get around not seeing family members. Sometimes they come from out of town, especially now the borders are all open and
Hmm.
people are flooding here,
Hmm.
so, you may see them. But that doesn't mean you need to have some time for you, and to really reflect on the memories of holidays with them, and what memories you have of of what's gone on in the holidays or what memories you've had of them for the year. I mean, if they've died just a month ago, a week ago, 2 months ago, it's still really new, even in the summer. It was the first holiday without them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that
Big
makes
important, very important marker.
yes.
It's a very important marker of the loss. I mean, it's even more so than things like the change of season.
Yeah.
And I mean, like just really, and I think it's often a very good idea to plan it out. Like, okay, let's be really planful about what I'm doing on this very important holiday. And also, if you if you think about this as well, it may be helpful if you think I'm going to have a very specific time during which I memorialize
Yep, that's
my lost one. So I'm going to say a prayer at a certain
right.
time, or I'm going to go outside and take a walk in nature and meditate on
Right.
the relationship that we had. You know, that if you can plan something, because rituals like that can help contain the enormity of feelings.
Feelings.
And if you do that, also rituals can help you to get through feelings that go beyond words, that are
Mhm.
just bigger than words. Action in a ritualized, planned way can be extremely emotionally healing.
And, a lot of people may light a candle,
Yep.
or have candles on the table or somewhere to
Mhm.
memorialize, or in a family setting where everyone knows or knew the animal, that you go around and share a memory.
Mhm.
So
That's a
that's
great idea.
that you
Yeah.
can do. Or you have, they loved to have a little piece of carrot cake. I don't know if they're allowed to have that, but anyway, you know what I mean. So you have a carrot cake for. So there are different things, especially when you get into Christmas stockings. It's interesting because my daughter and I have already been talking about the Christmas stockings, right? Because every dog has stocking. And I've got to get boogies now. I've ordered boogies now. So, and Jax is, of course, is alive, and Ellie's alive. But now we've had Hank has died, Rosie has died, and Molly has died, right? So Elisa said to me, "Well, we're going to have to get rid of the one of the stockings." And I said, "No, no, that's not happening." Okay. So, and what I've done is I put a little ribbon around the ones that have passed on. So
Mhm.
they will be there. They all will
Yeah.
be there. But,
Yeah.
that's for me. Sometimes though you could fill them with treats,
Yeah.
of those that have died, or you may even at some point want to donate them to somebody who needs them. Of course, ours all have names on them, so I mean that's a little problematic, but it's okay. It's a memorial.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the having the stocking and having a ritual ribbon on it,
Mhm.
I think is really great, because there again, that's you're signifying something
Mhm.
that is just, again, there's so much about loss and love and grief that transcends language, that those ribbons probably mean a lot to you every time you glance at them, and every time Elisa and Peter do. I mean, like, it's just got to be meaningful.
Yes, and so I will keep doing that, because they all of those stocking and still we have the big picture on the mantle of
Hmm.
all of them, and 3 of them have died, and that's staying up. I'm not taking it
Hmm.
down yet. It's a beautiful picture of all of them,
Hmm.
so but you can ritualize or memorialize any way you want,
Right.
especially during this period of time,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Because if they're not there, we want to make sure that I mean they're not ever forgotten, but it brings it into what's going on,
Yeah.
during that
Yeah.
day, right?
And just want to give a recommendation to people who maybe haven't experienced a loss, but are going to be with somebody who they haven't seen since they experienced a loss, and you're going to see them at the holiday. It's a good idea to simply acknowledge that
Yeah,
you know that this loss happened, and to just say, "I'm really sorry I heard about the loss of your beloved, whatever their name was. And I just want to let you know that I'm thinking of you." That's all you can or need to do.
Yeah.
And I say that because I've been, as I've described before, on the receiving end of somebody not acknowledging a very significant loss. And this was actually my father died shortly before Thanksgiving. And I went to Thanksgiving, and one of my brothers-in-law who hadn't seen or spoken to didn't say anything about my father's death. And I said to him, I said, "Bill, you know that my dad died, right?" And he said, "Oh yeah, but I didn't want to mention it because I didn't want to upset you." And I just said to him, it doesn't upset me
Well, it
that you
upsets you more
mentioned.
that you didn't say anything.
Yeah, but it made me feel like maybe you didn't know, or maybe you didn't know, what to say. And I just wanted to make sure that we both, you just knew that that had happened, because
Yeah,
if we don't acknowledge a loss, sometimes it creates a bit of a block in a relationship.
of
And
course.
so, yeah, so if that's the situation, if you're going to a celebration and you know that somebody has experienced a loss there, you haven't seen them since then, good idea to just
Yes,
acknowledge it and share
yes.
your, say you're sent, you're thinking of them and you hope that they're doing okay, and not, you don't have to do much, just acknowledge it.
And then and with a pet who is potentially dying or very ill, I mean, there's going to be a lot more anxiety for that family, even if they're having us come or family come or they have to
Mhm,
go places because they're gonna be so worried, about,
mhm.
their loved one. And they need to take care of themselves and that loved one. And that's okay again if you just don't go somewhere, because you want to be home. So if, like those TikToks or whatever it is, I know I'd rather be home with my dog or I'd rather be home with my cat. But that's kind of what it is, especially
Mhm,
in the context of potential death, or when they're really ill. It's funny because I found some really good things. I think I sent them to you, some
mhm.
sayings from different people online about Teresa Wagner had some really good things. Um, and so these are some sayings that are really helpful for those who have lost an animal through a holiday. Take care of your body so your heart can heal.
Mm.
Right? That's
That's so concrete. That's really helpful, really to the point.
right, because we talk about that a lot, right? You have to
Yeah.
take care of yourself. Grief is not about saying goodbye. It is about finding a way to relate to our departed loved ones in a different way.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that's the spiritual part, right? So that comes into them being with us in our hearts and how to embrace that, even though we can't touch them.
That to me echoes the point we were discussing a few weeks back about the fear that you're gonna forget
Yeah, right.
your beloved animal friend who has died, that it's not, it's, you don't have to be afraid of forgetting them,
Yeah,
because you'll find a way to hold on to them. It's just going to be different. So you're not going to have them in your life in the same way, but they're not going to be, you're not going to be devoid of the fact that they were in your life.
of course. And they will always be there, right?
Yeah.
And then this was interesting. Acting with compassion is one of the most effective ways to balance out the heaviness of grief. Maintaining a connection to the true meaning of the season can also bring consolation at a time of grief. It is time for reflection, gratitude, hope, and love. And that's Jordan Bartel said that. So, and I think he said some of those other ones too, but one more, Teresa says, it empowers us and accelerates our healing when we reflect upon and take stock of the blessings and many gifts we've received from our time with our loved one who has died, and make a commitment to cherish and use those gifts in our continuing life on earth to keep their legacies alive.
Mm,
So
mhm.
between Jordan Bartel and Teresa Wagner, these were really, I thought, really cool things that would be helpful for people to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in the tradition that I follow, the this time of year is we're coming towards the shortest day of the year, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the rebirth of the sun. It's the rebirth of light, and
Right.
That's what we move through when we hit the 21st, the 25th, however your spirituality tells you to mark it. and I'm saying the 21st of December or the 25th of December. And so that idea that the light is growing again, the sun is
Yeah.
with us more, can be something to hang on to as well, and to keep thinking about how you're going to hold on to the light, how you're going to hold on to the growing warmth of the year.
But also, you don't, I mean, we're all part of it. We're all part of
Hmm.
the earth, right? You
Hmm.
really are a proponent of that, right? We
Hmm.
all are part of this
Yep.
universe.
Yep.
And that is, I think, some of what some of these sayings also in part, like it's the season, and the season is one of giving and loving.
Hmm.
So hopefully,
It's one of rebirth, the
rebirth,
rebirth of the sun. Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And so I
Hmm.
think that that's really something for people, who are grieving their beloved pets,
Hmm.
that it's a connection to the earth, and its connection to the universe, and that they will live on with them, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they can do things for other people. You could donate some money in their name. You could give a turkey dinner maybe, or you could do at Christmas. You could do it, something else to give. They have coat drives all the time, or all these things that people can donate to, and you could do it in your pet's name.
Well, it's so important what you're saying, because we don't sometimes, when we're very down, we're very sad, or very upset, it's hard to get out of ourselves.
Of course,
And when we give to others, when we do something for others, the what we get back is always
it's
bigger than what
more
we
than what we
give.
give out, right?
And so it's just an important thing to keep in mind, that if you don't feel like you can do anything to help yourself, sometimes you can help yourself by trying to help other people in whatever way possible, large or small, and whatever creative means comes to mind for you. And so it's very important, this idea of being somewhat outwardly focused as well as caring for self.
Yeah, those are two main things to really look at. So we want to do some tips, right? Okay. We're going to go now we're going to switch gears a little bit. And I thought it was really interesting. And I looked up stats today about Christmas or gifts, right? Gift buying with animals. And Rover, that's a dog walking company, I believe, or pet sitting company, they did a survey, and it said 95% of pet owners buy Christmas gifts for their pets, which is good, right? So, I mean, I don't know how many billion-dollar business the pet industry is now,
It's
but it's
huge.
exploded,
I
right?
remember when we were researching the book,
It's
the market.
exploded.
It's unbelievable.
700
We
billion.
we dote on our
I
pets.
don't. It's we'll get the number, but it's insane. It's because through the pandemic, I mean, everybody got a dog or a cat, right? So
Yes, and so many people didn't
mm,
keep their promise
I
to their
know, I know. That's
animals.
something that's very sad for
Yeah.
us, but hopefully they will get rehomed,
Yep.
and find
Yep.
another forever home. But some of the tips for those who have animals that are running around, it gets really chaotic at holidays, right? People are coming in, they're going out, they're moving around. A lot of my dogs like to lay right in front of what I'm doing cooking, right?
Mhm.
So you've got to be really careful that you don't trip over one of them when you're
Mhm.
running from the refrigerator to the stove, right? And so
Mhm.
we have to dance around them. But you want to be also very careful with the Christmas tree, if
Yeah.
you when you have one up, and or holiday plants,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Some of
now
the plants are like mistletoe,
mistletoe is one of them.
and I think
Mistletoe and
poinsettia.
holly. Poinsettias will make you sick, but won't kill you. I
Okay.
mean, yes. I mean, I just read that today because I wanted to make sure, because it was always about poinsettias, and I mean, if they eat a little bit of it, if they won't feel
Mhm.
good, but they're not going to die from it. But
Mhm.
holly and mistletoe,
Yeah.
want to be really careful of. And candles,
Oh,
candles
yeah. That's interesting.
overall. I mean, if you got them on a table, and the dogs are running around, and boom, they hit the table. I mean, so that's something to keep in mind. Wires,
Yeah.
batteries, ornaments.
Batteries, yeah. Very not good. Yeah.
And eating, a lot of animals like to eat ornaments.
Yeah.
So you have to,
Yeah. And some of them shatter and,
and
they're eating shards of glass basically.
which is not good either.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is not have anyone take their animal to an ER.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I think that most people know this now, but no tinsel.
Right.
I
No.
was deciding whether or not I wanted to go to try to get into vet school, and I was volunteering for a veterinarian, and he had a cat who he operated on to remove tinsel, and the cat didn't survive.
Yeah.
And he talked
Tinsel is not.
about how frequently at that time, and this was several decades ago, it was fairly common for cats to get tinsel caught up in their intestines and die as a result.
So no tinsel.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And people are going to feed. You've got to be careful with other people just giving, food
Yeah,
to your
yeah,
animals. I mean,
yeah. No
they
chocolate for dogs.
no chocolate,
No grapes for
no grapes,
dogs.
no
Yeah,
raisins, no onion,
yeah.
no garlic, no
Mhm.
avocado. I mean, there's a lot of food that they. I mean, grapes can be very dangerous.
Yeah, no alcohol.
No alcohol, right?
Like, don't leave your glass sitting where your
Right.
dog is gonna have it as a
Be able
treat.
and some dogs are pretty, they're pretty able to get places
Yeah,
and especially big dogs,
yep.
so, they're pretty in creative in how they
Mhm.
get things. Um, you wanna make sure all of your, medications are locked up, not that you should have them around anyway, but
Right.
you want to give the pet some space. If it's too much activity and they're
Mhm.
stressing out, they can go to a different room and just hang out for a while. And the noise level. I mean, some animals are very sensitive to noise.
Yeah.
And when you get
Our puppy is, for sure.
so
Yeah,
you have 20 people in a house. I
yeah,
mean, and the kids are running around and so forth. That activity can be problematic, and the noise level can be problematic. Um, and doorbells.
yeah,
So if people are coming in and out of the house and you have a dog that runs, that you want to be really careful of that.
yep.
And also I mean, that doorbells could be very agitating, to the animals too. So the animals can get stressed out. I'm not so worried about cats because I think they disappear. They're able to get
Yeah,
somewhere in the house and not be around, but the dogs are going to be around because
yeah.
they're going to want to be with the people. So it's just for folks to be reminded, how to be careful with their animals.
And just again, it's just about being careful and thoughtful and caring,
Yeah.
which is something we wanna do for ourselves and for everybody,
Right.
and certainly for our animal companions, of animal family members. But I think that the most important message about the holidays is that it's very likely gonna punctuate your grief. It's
Yep, it
very likely
absolutely
gonna
will.
emphasize. Holidays will often reactivate grief that
Yep.
has settled to some extent, and it's just a really important thing to keep the focus on how do I take care of myself during
Yeah.
this time? What's the
It's
best?
important for you to take care of yourself and to be take care of your other animals, and obviously some family members, but you don't have to do everything that
Nope.
you feel that you need to do because you
Nope.
don't have to.
Yeah, you can put your own needs as a top priority,
Ex-
and that's okay to do, and it's very hard for many people to do, but it's also something that's about it's right at the center of taking care of yourself and walking through the journey of grief that is before you.
And that's the most important thing we can impart about the holidays. Have fun, but
Yep,
be careful and take care of yourself.
yep. Okay, Nancy. Well, great talking with you as usual, and we will do this again next Thursday, and then we will be away for the Thanksgiving Thursday.
Yes. So everyone take care.
Take care.